Fire Mountain Aria, written and narrated by Jill Penrod. Chapter 14. Any change? Gianni asked as he poked his head through the low espadrille doorway. He hadn't knocked, and he cringed. He didn't mean to be rude. No, Amma said. The sun should show itself today, right? It's starting, Gianni said. He smiled. I've never seen the end of dim note before. It's lovely. Kaya had one final delivery this morning, Amma said. She'll be back soon. You wish to visit? Gianni sat on the floor and stared at Trace, who had now been asleep for 2 days. His body was still and stiff and looked dead, but Gianni felt activity in the man's head or heart or wherever such activity happened. He knew the man wasn't dead. You really think we didn't do this? He asked. They'd put their hands on the man and he'd fallen unconscious and stayed that way. It seemed to Gianni this was their fault. You helped. I feel like he needed it. The pain was growing. You said that yourself. I suspect his body is healing now. Amma had told them what Trace had said, that this was a rock in the ocean or another world from his own. And then the mention of the reef dying. Reef. The man had said that more than once. Gianni wasn't sure what it meant or why he believed it was dying. Was Trace saying their world was dying? That wasn't something he wanted to hear. And yet he could believe it. Cold days, dark days, no babies. Many days he felt like his own world was dying. Was it such a stretch to think the physical world he lived in was in as sorry a shape as his own life? And then the most curious was what Trace had said about their life forces. Again, he didn't quite understand Trace's terms, but whatever it meant, it explained why he and Kaya felt things from the man, and from one another, that they didn't feel with anyone else. He needs to wake up, Gianni said. What will people say when they discover his presence? We haven't had a visitor from outside the mountain in ages. I don't remember it happening in my lifetime, Amma said. What if he's right, if we are alone here? What if there is no world around us, not like we think? Gianni shrugged. Does it matter, except that something is dying? If our world is dying, I hope he wakes up with some idea how to save the villages. Amma said nothing else. She'd watched and cared for Trace for 2 days now, forcing him to drink liquid, keeping him warm. Kaya had also cared for him. Gianni had watched with some envy as she'd sat at his side, speaking to him like he could hear her hands always on his chest or face. She studied his face for signs of waking, and he found himself doing the same. Was he jealous? He didn't know. He knew Kaya's company had warmed him this dim note. He felt more comfortable with her than anyone. But did he feel romantically toward her? If this man woke up and Kaya fell in love with him, could Gianni still be her friend? He didn't know. Maybe it didn't matter. 2 days of sleeping seemed like a long time, and the man showed no sign of waking soon. Kaya had mentioned a feeling of power when dealing with Trace O'Dell. Gianni felt it too. In his position, he already had power, and honestly, he would return it if he could. But the feeling of doing something important drew him. No, that wasn't right. What he did was important. It was the feeling of being important, perhaps. Or maybe it was just having this man and Kaya close, rattling in his head, somehow bonding with him in a new way that drew him. He'd lost his family long ago, and he'd been held at arm's length by his people since. With both Kaya and Trace, there was no distance, no secrets. He liked how that felt. Gianni placed his hand on Trace's arm and tried to catalog what he felt. Was there a change? Was Trace in more or less danger today than yesterday? Could he somehow use touch and whatever he felt in his head to aid Trace's recovery? He didn't have answers. Instead, he closed his eyes and concentrated on what he felt, both his own reaction to Trace and the energy he felt from the sleeping man. It needed to speed up. The rhythms Kaya gave off were faster than Trace's. Trace's energy felt sluggish and weak, and it needed to move more quickly, more forcefully. When he'd first felt Trace, before he'd even known the feelings had anything to do with another person, the energy had pulsed quickly. That was what needed to happen now. So he pushed. He didn't know how he did it or what he did, but he somehow gave the man's energy a push, encouraging speed. For a long time, he sat there and waited, pushing, hoping, and then he felt it. He backed off, and Trace's energy held the speed. Then it shifted, speeding up on its own. Even more than that, the rhythm changed, becoming more complex, more alive. In a few more randoms, Trace groaned and opened his eyes. "You're a healer," Trace said quietly. He looked at Gianni's hands. "And without a panel. Thank you." "I don't know what I did," Gianni said. "That doesn't mean I can't thank you," Trace said. He put his fingers to his head, which clearly still hurt. "It's not as bad now. How long was I out?" 2 days. Trace closed his eyes and slowly opened them. "Not bad. I've done worse damage to myself. I'm sorry. I'm not making sense, and I'm causing you trouble. I didn't mean to come here. I meant to touch your world, just to see what was here. I didn't mean to show up." Gianni didn't know how a person could accidentally enter someone's world in a flash of light, but he nodded. "You're okay?" Trace asked. "I am. Why do you ask?" Trace gave him a weak smile. "Because you're not okay. You gave me some of your energy. Now you're tired. I feel the slowing in your focus. You'll be fine soon, but you might eat more today, and I suggest you try to sleep earlier tonight." "What is a reef?" Gianni asked. "You said ours is dying. What does that mean?" Trace let out a slow breath. "I don't know why your people are here. I have ideas, but none of them make enough sense. This world, Portomare, is filled with hollow rocks that sit on the ocean floor. Huge, huge hollow rocks. Whole cities live in them. That's a reef, a hollow rock with people living inside. Your volcano is sitting in a hollow rock. I can't tell you why or how. Your people aren't from this world, I don't think. Neither is your volcano. Someone moved a large chunk of your world into a rock here. For safety, maybe. For punishment? I don't know. I don't know how you lost that history, why you don't know that you no longer live in your own world. But I think we're in a reef in Crichton OPD, Open Port District. I'm not sure, but I think I'm right. How can we be in a rock? We have days and nights. We have seasons. We see the sky. Your sky looks nothing like the skies from this planet, Trace said. Skies have moons and suns and stars. We have sunlight, Gianni said. The sun is a ball of light far above the world. Do you see a ball of light above? G shook his head. The whole sky brightens and darkens. That's normal. Trace smiled. It's only normal in a reef. Something in the rock cycles in and out, creating light and heat, days and nights. Only yours is broken. The fluid isn't working right. Your reef is darker and colder than it should be. Do things grow as well? Are there any other changes you've seen in your world? Gianni cleared his throat. Babies aren't being born. But that's because of the earthquake. 16 years ago, we had a terrible earthquake. Many died, and things changed. Trace nodded. His skin was still too pale, his lips white. He might feel better, but Gianni didn't think he felt good yet. Yes, a quake might account for the changes. The reef beside yours also had some quakes. A reef beside us? Trace struggled to sit up, letting Gianni help him. He took 2 long, slow, painful breaths. This rock has 2 chambers with a stone wall between them. Your volcano sits in the smaller chamber. It has no docks, no outward signs that it exists, and people moved into the other chamber with no knowledge of your existence. The chemical that lights and heats that side might react badly with whatever lights and heats your side. We haven't figured it all out yet." "No," Gianni said. "No, this is ridiculous. You came in a flash of light, and I can't explain your presence, or why Kaya and I can feel your presence, but I am not living in a hollow rock. How stupid would we be not to know this? No." Trace nodded. "Okay." Gianni paused. "You're not well." "No," Trace said. "I didn't get the song right to get me through the stone of your volcano, and it tore my focus. But I woke up, and you started the healing, so I should be okay." "Focus. What is that?" Trace shrugged. "I don't know. I can feel it. I think you can feel it on me and Kaya. Can you feel Amma at all?" "No," Gianni said. "You just gave me strength without a stamina song, without a panel. You used your focus to do that. The reed panel lets me use my focus to do things, like give a person a little power, or run a vehicle, or lift a rock." "Lift a rock," Gianni said, "like mining." Singers often help clear new mines, or collapsed mines." "You could help me clear a collapsed mine?" Gianni asked. "I can once my head stops pounding. I need to get home. My sister must be frantic." Gianni leaned back. "You have family?" "I do. You thought I didn't?" "I didn't think one way or the other. How can we help? Now that you're awake, how can we help?" "It takes time," Trace said. "When your focus isn't tired, you can do what you did before. But even without that, I'll be better in time. And yes, I can help with your mind." Gianni felt Kaya coming, and he knew Trace did too, gazing at the door just before it opened. When she saw him awake, Gianni felt her joy and relief. And again he was jealous. He needed not to be like this. He was the leader of a small village in a dying world. He had bigger concerns than who Kaya smiled at. "You're awake." "Thanks to Gianni," Trace said with a wry smile. "He has skills I don't." "Wait," Gianni said. "I do?" "I have to use a panel to do things. Although," Trace closed his eyes, and Gianni felt a strange something happen inside of him. Trace grinned. "Okay, maybe not. It's the place somehow. The chemicals, or I don't know. Maybe the reef energy. I can sense stamina without a panel in here too. I wish this headache would go away though, and everything is so bright. I've never had a singing headache where everything was so bright." "Oh," Kaya said, "that might not go away with the headache. Gianni and I have been that way our whole lives." Trace laughed. "This place is very strange. Right over there, through that wall, life is normal. I mean normal for me and the rest of this planet. And yet here we have a tiny pocket of strange." "I want to take offense at that," Kaya said, "but I don't. What now? You're awake." "His head still hurts," Gianni said, "and he can help with the mine. The closed fork. Maybe he can help me open it." "That's great, Gianni," Kaya said. "But doesn't he need to go home? I mean, where exactly is home?" "Home is out there," Trace said, pointing up and to the right. "Echo is out there somewhere in our skipper, looking for me. I hope she doesn't tear up her focus to get to me. I wish I could tell her I'm okay. I don't know how to get anyone out of here yet, but I'll figure it out. Or she will, but either way, it would be nice to communicate." "She doesn't know you're here?" Kaya asked. "I didn't expect to end up here," Trace said. He closed his eyes. "But that doesn't matter. I was being reckless. I've been reckless for a while now. I promised her I would do better, but that was a lie, and I don't know how to fix it. Not yet. Not until my focus heals." Gianni felt something shift in Trace's focus, something dark and uncomfortable. The man had secrets. But that went without saying. How could he appear from nowhere and not have secrets? "Can Kaya do what I did?" Gianni suddenly asked. "Can she help your focus?" Maybe, Trace said. But not you. Not yet. Wait, Kaya said. She frowned. Why can't he help? He did. His focus slowed because of it. Not dangerously, but enough that he needs to rest it. Neither of you have ever used your foci, not like this. You can hurt them, strain and warp, and even tear them. Can you teach us how to be careful? How to use this skill? For a girl who'd always been powerless, the promise of a new power must thrill her, Gianni realized. Personally, he wasn't sure he wanted more power or responsibility. He hadn't been very successful with the power he already had. I can, Trace said, but not today. Trace took a slow, deep breath, and Kaya gently pushed him back on the mat, where he closed his eyes. His focus was slowing again, but this might be the healing slowness of sleep. The man had barely been awake, and now he drifted toward sleep again. Is he asleep? Kaya asked Gianni. I think so. You can't feel it? I'm not sure what I feel. I feel so much more than I ever felt before. Why is that? How did he change us just by coming here in a flash of light? Gianni had no answers for that. Can you feel it? He said he felt fatigue in my focus. Can you feel that? She closed her eyes, and then she put her hands on his forearms. When she opened her eyes, she nodded. I feel it. Everything is slower, but not like Trace when he was hurt. He's still slower than he should be, I think, Gianni said. I feel silly talking about this. Does it feel silly to you? It would if I didn't feel it, but it feels like something real. If you want to try what I did, think of speed. Concentrate on the speed of his focus and give it a push. Gently, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure what I did. Just don't do it for long. Amma was in the room listening, and she shifted and leaned forward, placing an ancient hand on Gianni's head. You look tired now. I can't feel it on you, but I can see it. I suggest you start for home or take a nap. We have plenty of space. He stood, planning to go home, but the fatigue hit hard, and he sat down and then curled up on a mat near the Heitskava pit. He watched Kaya place her hands on Trace's abdomen, her fingers sliding up under his shirt, and he closed his eyes and simply felt things. Kaya's pride and joy. Trace's slow rhythm of sleep. The wind gently shifting the fields of Lettstoffer outside. The warm softness of the blanket Kaya tossed over him. Peace. All of it together was peace. A feeling he hadn't known in a very long time. And that peace dropped him into a healing sleep.